Being a subject matter expert can be challenging, especially when trying to apply your teaching styles and content to the online environment. That's why I created this graphic to help support subject matter experts in their process. Asking a subject matter expert to put their content together for online learning is a bit like asking somebody to write a book for the first time. It's really daunting. There's a lot to work with, a lot of ideas, and many ways to skin the cat, and it can be somewhat overwhelming. So this graphic attempts to break it into phases and steps so that the subject matter expert can choose their own path and find ways to move through the phases as opposed to feel like there's a whole world of work to be done. I've broken down the process into two basic phases: the learning design phase and the content development phase. The learning design phase focuses on the conceptual thinking and planning behind putting content into the format for online. So starting with principles like designing backwards from the activities that you want learners to be able to do by the end of the course or lesson. Then being able to turn your content into support guides for those actions. So rather than trying to find all the content or pull from what you already know, you can focus your intent on what are the practical things or key messages that you want to bring across to learners. These include two basic documents. Firstly, your own personal planning document. I recommend subject matter experts use a Word document or even a journal and just write down ideas on a very high level to try and break down the various chapters and subtopics that you want to include in your course or lessons. Those never need to see the light of day or anybody else. Those can be your personal notes and a way to just think through what you're trying to teach. You will then translate those rough notes into a blueprint, and the blueprint is a templated document in which you will include your learning outcomes, those activities that you identified, as well as the chapters and sub-chapters that you would want to include as part of the whole. This gets really particular without actually going through the words and the final content. It gives you a blueprint or an architectural view of what will become the course. We can then look into the next phase, which is the content development phase, which looks a lot more at the practical content that you will use within the course. So again, I think rather than focusing on perfection, it's getting things in place. So putting all the content that you feel is relevant to your learning outcomes and your chapters and sub-chapters, putting it roughly into a document so that everything's in one place, including any reference images or clips or videos that you might have collected as part of your course or lesson. You then will go through the refining process. So the hard work is putting the content all together in a single document, but then you get to change modes into editor mode and start to refine the content, write scripts, put questions in place, and be a lot more specific. And then you'll get it to the final place where you could hand it over to somebody else and start creating videos or start building the assessments. But once you get to the final stage of your storyboard, which is the document this all lives in, it'll be an actionable document that other parties can then take and start to use. So that's a pretty high level breakdown of the process that I recommend. You could choose to do the phases in a different order or even take the various steps and put them in an order that works for you, as long as each of the documents end up being in their final form. So these are my recommendations of the sequence that you could take, but you may choose your own sequence. And the most important thing is that at the end of the phase, you can go into implementation knowing that your storyboards are finished, everything is dotted and I'd, and that you have your references and everybody knows exactly what to do. I hope this helps.